Hi Tamuz, thank you very much for joining us all the way from Tel Aviv, sharing a little bit of an insight into your life in Tel Aviv. And I think first of all, before we jump into the questions, I just want to tell everybody that Tamuz plays in a band called Tatran, and they are incredible. Like, you've got to go and check them out. So I'm sure we'll get to hear little bits and pieces through this interview. But you've got to go and check out the albums. I've been listening to loads of stuff over the last couple of weeks since I was introduced to you, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
Nice, thank you very much.
I mean, let's just jump into some questions. I mean, you're in Tel Aviv. Were you born in Tel Aviv?
Yeah.
And have you lived there all the time?
Yeah, mostly. I've been here and there, but it's all very close. So it's always like on the line to Tel Aviv.
So let's jump into how you started playing guitar. I mean, what was the first thing that you saw that made you think, I want to be a guitarist, or I want to be a musician?
The first time I realized music is a thing was like just hearing, I think Red Hot Chili Peppers, maybe Green Day, stuff like that. But yeah, the moment I decided to be a musician was actually with Radiohead. That was like hearing Radiohead and was like, okay.
What were your parents listening to? Like, what sort of music was being played in the house when you grew up?
Yeah, like Beatles, Elvis, Bob Marley, some Israeli stuff, Arik Einstein, Shalom Chanoch, some beautiful stuff from the 60s and 70s. And also my brother was listening to Pantera and Meshuggah, and he started playing guitar, and I followed him there. Quite an eclectic collection there. I mean, do you think the sort of the local stuff to you, or sort of the Israeli stuff, do you think that had an influence on the music that you play now? I guess it had an influence that I'm maybe not aware of, because I'm reminded that I actually get that a lot. It sounds a little bit Middle Eastern, and no, it doesn't, but I guess it does. In some subconscious way, it just entered.
Was guitar your first instrument?
Yeah, guitar was my first instrument. My first musical experience was at a piano, getting lost on my grandma's piano. What was your first starting off guitar? A acoustic nylon guitar. That was the most common thing to have. At some point, at age 13, I got an Ibanez, and I still have it. Who would you say your influences are now? Yeah, John Frusciante for me still is like a spiritual father figure. I feel very connected to his playing. And beyond that, FX Twin is another really a hero of mine. Radio, Tom York, Johnny Greenwood. John Zorn was a huge influence on me. He came to Israel to Tel Aviv to do this festival with all kinds of different groups of his, and it had a really big influence on how my spectrum of what I thought music was really expanded.
I mean, a lot of the stuff that you're playing, it sounds like you're really schooled. Did you have any formal tuition? Did you go to university or to study music?
Not really. I went to private teachers here and there. I did went to 1 year of music school, but mostly teachers here and there, and I learned a lot from the people I play with, which are mostly Ophir and Dan from the band. So all the time I take bits and pieces from them and ideas and just ask questions.
What was your introduction to Line 6? What was the first thing that you had?
First Line 6 thing was the MM4, I think. It's the blue modulation pedal. And soon after the M9. And very soon after the M13.
As soon as I got the chance to get the M13, it just changed everything. It's just such a cool layout.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the flexibility and the ease of doing stuff in the expression pedal, controlling multiple parameters of different stuff at once. Like, for me, like most of what I learned about making sounds and dealing with effects and, I don't know, sound design or sound stuff was in the computer. Like Cubase, just throwing plugins in different chains, different orders, and trying stuff out. So, and I was really frustrated with pedals that you had just a single chain. So maybe I want to put the distortion after the reverb, stuff like that. So just the possibility of doing that easily.
And I think for me as well, the idea of being able to have multiple versions of the same type of effect. I think until I had an M13, anything I was using, I had one delay. You know, and you had you could use one reverb, one delay, one distortion, one modulation, and all of a sudden with M13 you could have 4 different delays at the same time, and you know, and be toggling between other effects as well, and then looping them and playing them backwards. I think Tel Aviv's kind of pretty famous for its nightlife. How is the music scene?
I feel like the music scene is amazing. There's so many incredible musicians. Like some of my favorite musicians, coincidentally, I don't know, but are from around here. So I can recommend some bands I really like, some artists. Battering Trio, Yogi, Apifera, Tiny Fingers, Nitai Hershkovitz. Yeah, so much great stuff. Actually, the guitarist of Apifera, Yonatan Albalak, is an amazing musician and guitarist and a sound manipulator. Also uses a Helix, actually. So he's in Apifera and also has another band called Geshem. So if you like stuff like that, check him out.
One of the other cool things about this video series is that it would be great to know, you know, where the local sort of guitar stores are. So where do you go when you want to buy a Helix in Tel Aviv?
Yeah, so there's for Line 6 stuff, there's the Wild Guitars shop. So it's a very nice shop with all kinds of things. You can definitely check it out.
Wild Guitars are the Line 6 distributor.
Yeah, they have all the Wild Guitars has all the Line 6 stuff and lots of other stuff as well. But yeah, so I definitely spent a lot of time there.
The venues that are in some of your videos look incredible. I mean, what are those venues?
Yeah, so first thing that comes to mind is Tether, which is a place. Some of our videos are shot there, where you see a lot of people in the building, and so it's a big complex with all sorts of little venues and the main venue. And yeah, they have just really cool people, and they have really good taste in music across all genres. Like, you can go hear like a sound art thing, you can hip hop, heavy metal, they have a jazz stuff, like everything that's good. So I definitely recommend you check that out if you come. You know, Tel Aviv, it's so crowded and so filled with people from different cultures and different mindsets. So a lot of unique stuff comes out. Also, I feel there's an openness, like not required to be in a genre. Like it's cool to blend stuff. It's interesting. Like people are open to it.
Getting back to sort of Helix and your approach to effects, I mean, we had a conversation a couple of weeks ago where you told me about your signal path and how you approach things. I mean, could you give us a sort of a brief rundown now of what your guitar, your signal chain, what your guitar hits as it's going through there?
Yeah, sure. So I go from the guitar to a compressor, from the compressor to the Helix. Then inside the Helix, I'm using all 4 effects loops. So first one is for the Maris and the Pog. Second one, Hog. Third one, some distortion pedals. Fourth one, Amp Sim, the Iridium. And then, so it all goes in and out of the effect loops into the Helix. From the Helix to the HX effects. And in the Helix, like the reason for the setup, which is maybe complex, and why do I need the HX effects and stuff? It's mostly for me for flexibility, just to have many different things available on the fly. So so I'm using, like with the Helix, the 3 expression pedals, and with the Ajax another 2 expression pedals. So in the Helix and the Ajax effects, I have an dedicated expression pedal for looper volume for each. And the other ones are changing, like what they do between presets, but they generally have a similar thing. Like the first one would be like modulations, filters, pitch, stuff like that. Stuff with the dry sounds mostly. And the second one would be for wet stuff. Like opening reverbs, closing filters, like making things go further away and wider. So that way, so it took me a while to develop like a language which I feel comfortable improvising with. Because like before Helix, it was with the M13, but it still felt like individual pedals. So it was like easy to twist something and change. And I was kind of weary of going to the Helix, which has this... I thought it was gonna be like this closed box architecture, like structure. Of like preset, and I was worried about that because I don't want my sound to sound like preset. I want my sound to be like fluid, like and evolving, and I want to have control of each nuance and be able to discover new sounds on the fly.
And I think you were saying that your approach to having HX effects at the end was like a DJ or a producer, wasn't it? It was like a master effects. Like a master effects bus, so whatever's going through there, that's always active at the end there.
Yeah, that's kind of how I look at it. Like, because I'll be using presets inside the Helix, and then I have the Ajax effects always ready for different stuff to go through that. So I can sample whatever's going on in the Helix and in the looper of the Helix into the looper of the Ajax effects. And I can also every moment throw a delay or a reverb or a filter on the whole thing. So, or throw a tape simulation like across all the loops and stuff, get a unique sound, stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of how I'm looking at it. Like the Helix is the main sound generator and the Ajax is like on top.
So do you use many presets in HX effects for that?
Sometimes one foot switch will do a combination of effects. A filter and a reverb, a bit crusher and a vibrato, stuff like that. And it's less than the Helix, because the Helix is the main content thing. But there are stuff that, it changes all the time, but stuff that I like to put on top and put the whole thing through. So it mainly like reverb, delay, looper. For me, sound is inspirational. Like, sometimes I just put a little hiss or make a little noise loops, like a non-tonal loop, just to have something in the background, and it lures me in to the music. So it's like like this canvas, you know.
For me, whenever I kind of pulled off loop stuff, it always used to be, it was like a one-time thing only. I mean, how does that work for you? Because you're creating loops and then playing them with the band, and then they become band songs that I guess you're out gigging again and again. So you have to recreate those loops. How do you go about doing that?
We have like 2 songs with the band where I have like a loop that I want to be pretty much the same each time. And for them, it's very easy with the snapshots. So I just remember the snapshot and it's there. A lot of the more spontaneous looping, that's more in the like improvised side of the band, that just, I don't try to control it. And I like not controlling it. Like with the band, the loops are ambient. They're not rhythmic. Like the song are not based on them. It's just another texture to use in the mix. Yeah, I have a few pieces that I do solo, and then I do recreate it. Again, with snapshots, it's pretty easy. And when I do try to create a loop that will like contain a whole mix, and the music will be based on it, so I do like record it and play it back and listen to it back a lot of times. So like with balancing things, different parts and EQs and volumes and stuff, like even panning you can do. So I really like to record it and then hear it back when I'm not playing, because the balance might feel completely different.
So when it comes to writing pieces with the band, like how do you approach that? I mean, I'll just say straight away here that the drummer and the bass player in the band are incredible musicians as well. So I guess they must bring stuff to the table too.
Yeah, definitely. Some songs we write, like Ophir, the bass player, writes a lot of songs for the band as well. So we all write stuff. Sometimes we write at home like a complete piece. Not arrangement, but like harmony, melody, structure. And we bring it in and we arrange it together. Like each one brings his own angle, and it's always unexpected, and it always it sometimes like brings, sometimes we will change the structure after that. Sometimes we will add a part after it to fit with what we created together. So it's really, and sometimes we improvise, just get together, improvise, and then an idea comes up, and we record it, and then we'll take it home, write something on it, bring it back, add parts together. Yeah, so it can really go each way. And we also have albums that are 100% improvised. So that's also a way.
And I think you've created a preset for us that you were going to share. Can you tell us a little bit about the preset and your approach to building that?
It may be complex, but it came from wanting to experiment with recording a loop and then manipulating the loop by itself and not manipulating the live sound that I'm playing after I recorded the loop. And then it developed from there. So there are like 2 snapshots where the chain of the loop recording is enabled. So 2 snapshots, one clean, one with a fuzz, that you record the loop into, and then you can go to another snapshot and play over it and manipulate the loop at the same time with all 3 expression pedals. And that snapshot, like the dry sound also has some stuff like delays going into a tape simulator, stuff like that. So it also is kind of loopy. So it kind of feels like two loops that are being processed differently. Because I'm using the ping pong delay with one bar. So it kind of feels like another loop. And on top of that, stop me if it's too complicated. On top of that,
this is great.
You can go to a different set of snapshots that will add a dry bass sound in addition. So you can play the dry bass sound with the dry live guitar sound and the loop playing. And you can also go to another snapshot that puts the delay on the dry, at 100 feedback and no input. So it's like two different loops and a dry bass sound. Yeah, you can experiment with it. It does require 2 or 3 expression pedals to get the full thing out of it.
The preset sounds incredible when you're using it. I think even just looking at that preset will be an interesting insight into your mind and how you create those things.
Yeah, I just wanted to make something like people can maybe get ideas from, of like how to use stuff in an interesting way.
And we'll put all the links to the preset underneath the video. We'll put links to the band underneath the video as well, so people can check out the stuff. I guess we're out of time now, but thank you so much for that. It's been great, and it's been exactly what this whole idea that I had for a series is meant to be about, which is being able to chat to people from around the world and get their approach and find out what it was like, growing up and being them in a different country, from me, So thank you very much for your time, Tamuz.
Yeah, sure, thank you very much.
It is much appreciated, and I hope we get to chat again, and I hope this is a friendship that lasts,
Yeah, me too.
Okay, well, thank you. You have a good day.
You too.
Thanks, man. Bye.